Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I have 20 spring DIYs to share with you. I am so ready to get started with the Easter DIYs, and there is no better way to kick off Easter crafting than with some bunny DIYs. First one, I needed something new for my front door. I saw the bunny wreath hanger from Dollar Tree, and I don't usually do many wreath decor DIYs, so I wanted to try something new and try my hand at wreath making. This bunny form, like I said, is from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using some nautical decorative rope. There are two different kinds. There is nautical decorative rope, and then there's one that's just a nautical rope. And I learned kind of the hard way that they are two different sizes. I like the decorative one better. It's a little bit smaller. But before I could go ahead in with that decorative rope and wrap it all around the bunny form, the form was actually pretty slippery, and I didn't really have enough to hot glue the nautical rope to. So instead, I decided to cover everything with a base layer of this small jute or twine that you can also find in the Crafter's Square section. This just made it really nice. Then when I went in with the rope, it wasn't so slippery, and it also provided me a space to use my hot glue. Every couple times that I would wrap around the nautical decorative rope, there is a difference. Every few times that I would wrap that around, I went ahead and added a touch of hot glue just to make sure that everything stayed in place. And again, when I added the hot glue to the actual wreath form itself, it wasn't wide enough to really put on the hot glue. I'm sure someone more experienced in wreath making would be able to do this, but I think this was my first time actually using a wreath form from Dollar Tree. So for me, it was just a lot easier to wrap everything in jute first, and then I didn't have to worry about it slipping and sliding. This whole process was a little bit time consuming, but overall very easy. You're just wrapping the rope around the wreath form. The only section that I got a little difficult is right here in between the two bunny ears, just because that is a very small space, and I was using, rope, which is a little bit wider than something like a jute. But as I was wrapping it around, I'm not sure if it was because it was a Dollar Tree wreath form or not, but it was pretty easy to kind of pull apart the two bunny ears and create space for that rope. So once I just kind of gently pulled those ears apart, it was pretty easy to keep continuing with the rope. I did that all the way around my bunny ears before I moved into the wreath form. This is also when I had to go into my second set of nautical rope, and that's when I went in with the actual nautical rope, not the decorative one, and I realized that it was much thicker and wider than the decorative rope, so I had to go back out to my local Dollar Tree and pick up some more of the decorative nautical rope. Similar to how I did the ears, I covered our entire wreath form again with jute. Not only was this great because it was able to provide that space for me to add a little bit of hot glue, but because I couldn't get the nautical rope perfectly lined up every time, instead of being able to see through to some blank space of the wreath or be able to see through the wreath, the jute matched perfectly with the nautical rope and was able to get in to some of those tinier, hard to reach places, like around the bunny ears, so I didn't have to go quite as heavy-handedly in when I did the decorative rope. To decorate our bunny's ears, I picked up some of this gingham fabric from the Dollar Tree in the black and white pattern, and I first just laid it down and kind of cut a smaller strip of it to work with, and then I grabbed my hot glue gun and flipped my wreath on the other side, added some hot glue, and then just pressed down my fabric and turned it over just to make sure that everything was aligned and no parts were peeking through. And I did the exact same thing with the other ear, laying down some hot glue, then smoothing my fabric out, and again, just making sure that everything was covered with that fabric. I grabbed some of my pinking shears and just cut down some of that material, and then I did go in with a smaller set of my detailing fabric scissors to get extra close to the ears and trim off all of that excess fabric. To make my two bows here, I'm showing you the second one. I used a really easy technique. You just kind of zigzag the ribbon back and forth. This is the wired burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. It works best with the wired ribbon. And because you're not going to see the center area of my bow, this is a really great technique because it doesn't really make the prettiest center in the world. You could tie it with jute, but I just grabbed a zip tie to basically hold the entire bow together. And then I went in with some scissors and trimmed off the tails. So you can see I have the two bows. I have one in that gingham pattern, and then I also have the smaller burlap one on top. And like I said, you're not going to be able to see the center area of these bows, which is why I used these zip ties. Instead, I grabbed the jute carrots from Dollar Tree and just hot glued them together in this trio and went ahead and hot glued that to the center of the bows. Also, I did not show this in the video, I completely forgot, but I did make a small nautical rope loop on the back so that I could hang this wreath on my front door. If you're new to my videos, hello and welcome. I'm Rebecca Virginia, and on this channel, I make DIYs and home decor, especially using Dollar Tree or other inexpensive products. If that sounds like something you are interested in, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on a future video. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where I post what crafts I'm working on and also take you shopping with me to Dollar Tree and other stores. The next DIY is a reversible one. I had two different styles in mind and just could not decide if I wanted to go with the fun spring prints or more of the farmhouse look, so I decided to do both, which I am going to show you. And it is using the wood bunny heads from Dollar Tree. They come out with these year after year. I've picked them up in the past, and I was originally going to do a faux tree similar to what I did for Valentine's Day, where I made the wood hearts look like cookies. But for this one, instead, I wanted to go a little bit more traditional for the front side of our bunny face. So I just grabbed some white chalk paint from Waverly and I painted the entire bunny on the front and also on the back. To give it more of a farmhouse feel, I like to just stress any of my projects. It's just a quick and easy way to take something maybe more modern and clean looking and give it that farmhouse touch. So to do this, I'm taking my chip brush, which is by Apple Barrel, and then I took some stain by Waverly in the color Antique, and I'm just going all around the edges of the bunny and then a little bit very gently down the front, just so that it wasn't completely stark white and we have a little bit of that brown color coming through. To add some greenery and give it a nice touch of spring, I went in my floral stash that I have, and I had a couple of these little greenery picks, so I went ahead and hot glued those down. And then I also had some of this ribbon. It's from the Dollar Tree, and you can usually find it in the section where the glass is, usually like vases, glasses, candles. So it tends to be near that rather than with the other ribbons. And then I took this wood flower, which is from Solo Wood Flowers, but Dollar Tree also sells a extremely similar looking flower. And then I had a little white button, so I went ahead and hot glued that to the center of our DIY. So this is the front side and this is the back side. So you'll have to let me know down in the comments below, which one do you like better? Are you more into the colorful version, or do you like more of that classic farmhouse look? Make sure to let me know. So to create this, I flipped over our wood bunny and I had a stencil. I will have it linked down below. I did use my cutting machine to cut this out, but you could also print it out and cut it out yourself. So I laid down this stencil and then went in with some of my paint colors. I usually get a comment or two about the paint colors I use, so I'll go ahead and walk through those. The pink I used is Waverly, and the color name is Ballet Slipper, so I used that for the tulips. Then I went in with a little bit of a brighter pink color. This one is called Calypso Coral by Apple Barrel. And next I went in with a color, it's Lavender by Folk Art, and it's kind of a bright purple, so I was surprised that it's called lavender, but that's what it was called. And then on the greenery pieces, for the lighter greenery, I used the shade Celery by Waverly, and for the darker green, I went in with the shade Moss by Waverly. And everyone who is a crafter knows the best part of using a stencil is when you get to peel it off and reveal your finished product. This stencil, I made it a little bit too small, so I did lay it back down and went over it again with some of those green leaves and a couple of the pink hearts to make sure that it filled out our entire wood bunny form. Then I took some raffia and I just tied it in a bow, And using a similar white button to the one that we used on the front of this DIY, I went ahead and hot glued that down into place. I think that I am partial towards the one with all of the bright colors because I'm really just wishful thinking that it was spring right now. So I think I'm gonna go with the brighter color one as my favorite. The next DIY is an unbelievably easy one, and it is using one of the wood tags that I picked up a couple of weeks ago at the Dollar Tree. I recently made a Dollar Tree spring haul video where I showed you a lot of the really nice wood blank signs, which are perfect for crafting. So this one is the tag sign, and to start off, I wanted to color the beads. So I grabbed some of my Waverly stain in the shade Antique, and for every other wood bead, I went in with a wet paper towel and a little bit of stain just to give those round beads some color. And I forgot to film it, but on the natural beads in between the stained ones, I did paint those white just so they were a little bit brighter. I have been so impressed with the Dollar Tree rub-on transfers lately. I think they are definitely giving Cricut a bit of a run for its money because these transfers are so nice. I especially love the ones that are colored. I decided to go with the Simply Blessed transfer. I only cut out the Blessed, and it's actually an extremely dark green. You can't really tell it on camera, but in person, it's a really gorgeous dark forest green. Then I had picked up these wood bunnies. Also, I included that in my spring haul. I'll make sure to link that above if you missed it. And they're so cute, but besides just kind of using them as table scatter, I wasn't really sure how I was going to actually DIY with them. But I thought they looked great on this tag, and then I went ahead and rubbed on the Blessed transfer underneath of the bunny. I know everyone in my last video told me to pick up some popsicle sticks next time at the Dollar Tree, and I forgot, but I will remember, so I did just use the back of a bamboo skewer to transfer the Blessed saying onto our tag sign. It is pretty much officially spring where I live. We have had some super warm days, so I am diving right into my Easter DIYs. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a lot of carrot DIYs. I didn't even realize it until I was putting this video together, but I guess I just had carrots on the brain. I love doing bunny and carrot kind of DIYs for spring and especially for Easter, so you are going to get quite a lot of them in today's video. Starting off, I am going to be using the carrot wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree. You will need 3 of them. I also picked up some scrapbooking paper from Hobby Lobby in the buffalo check pattern, and I'm adhering down the scrapbooking paper using a bit of Mod Podge and then just pressing it onto those carrot wood ornaments. I'm applying the Mod Podge down with a paintbrush. These are, I believe, the watercolor pens. They came 2 in a pack, maybe 3 in a pack from Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square section. I don't like using my nice paintbrushes with Mod Podge, but I find that if I use my finger, I glob way too much on. So I do like using a paintbrush, but instead of using my nicer brushes, I like using actually the watercolor pens from Dollar Tree. I wanted my carrots to have a little bit of a burlap background, kind of just a touch of the burlap poking through. So I applied some Mod Podge to the back of the carrot ornaments, placed that down onto the burlap, and rather than tracing out the carrot then cutting, I kind of just guesstimated and went around the carrot with my smaller detailing scissors, just leaving a little bit of the burlap so it just kind of pokes through the back of my carrots. Next up is adding all of the embellishments. This is always my favorite part of the DIY. Kind of the main work is done, and now you are basically decorating your craft. So to do this, I had some floral picks from the Dollar Tree, so I just cut those into smaller pieces to create the tops of my carrots, and I just put that down with some hot glue. Then to kind of cover up the hot glue and where the tops of the carrots are, it's a little bit of a harsh line. So I did grab some jute and I just wrapped the jute around, I believe 3 or 4 times, really as much as I needed to hide the hot glue and kind of that, again, abrupt line of where the greenery meets the carrot. This lace ribbon that I had from the Dollar Tree felt very farmhouse to me, and I mean, what is more farmhouse than fresh, fake produce? So I thought that it would look really cute on the carrots, so I went ahead and hot glued some of those lace bows onto them. The sign that I'm using is also from the Dollar Tree. They have come out with amazing blank wood signs. I will go ahead and link my spring Dollar Tree haul video. In it, I show you all of the great signs that the Dollar Tree currently has out. I love that they're coming out with more of these blank signs. It gives us so much more to be creative with. I am hot gluing these carrots down onto my sign, and also I did some of these little curlies with some wire jute, kind of connecting all of the carrots. Almost it looks like on a vine. I know carrots do not grow on a vine, but I still just thought it looked really cute. So I went ahead and hot glued that down to the front of our sign, but the back of the carrots. For our next DIY, yes, we are using carrots again, but instead of more of that farmhouse feel with the black and white buffalo check, we are going very traditional here using the jute carrots from the Dollar Tree. And don't worry, the next craft that I am going to show you does not involve carrots. So if you want a little break from them, that is coming up. So this item is one of my absolute favorites. It's from the Target Dollar Spot section. If you live near a Target, definitely check out the Dollar Spot section. They have amazing items for $5 and under. This is a glass gumball machine. It is heavy, it is really nice glass, and I got it for $5, and I love using it in so many different DIYs. I'll pop up a couple pictures of how I've used it in the past for crafting, and this is a really easy craft. It's great for beginners. All you are doing is putting down some Spanish moss into the base of this gumball machine, and then I grabbed a bunch of the jute carrots from Dollar Tree, and I am just tucking them into the gumball machine. But of course it's me, so I couldn't just leave it at that. I had to embellish it a little bit more. This is some orange gingham ribbon that I actually picked up last year from Hobby Lobby. I pretty much exclusively get all of my ribbon from Dollar Tree, but I did splurge a little bit on this one because I really wanted that bright orange color last year, and I got a huge spool, so it has lasted me. And I went ahead and just made a really easy zigzag bow. If you need a little bit more of a tutorial on it, it's super easy, but I did it in my last video from last week. So I'll link that above. And also I'm going to do a similar bow in one of my other DIYs in this video. So if you didn't quite catch how to make this bow, just keep watching and I will show you again. The Dollar Tree came out with, I believe, 3 of these trim packs. I picked out the carrot one, and the little carrot embroidery I went ahead and cut out and then hot glued that at the center of my bow. They also came out with a bunny trim pack and a little chick embroidery pack. So if you see those at your Dollar Tree, definitely pick them up, because you can use it in ways you might not have thought of. I definitely didn't pick these up planning to use it as the center of the bow, but it just worked out perfectly, so that's what I did. I told you we were going to get a little break from the carrot DIYs, so for this one, I created a bunny house. So the focus here is going to be this adorable bunny. I actually got it at the Dollar Tree. I found it in my Crafters Square section. It said that it was a scrapbook paper pack. I'll show you guys in just a second. But first off, before we get to the paper, I did pick up one of the wood houses from the Dollar Tree. I could not get off that fabric on the front, so I just flipped mine over and focused all my attention on the back of the house, and I gave this a nice coat of the white Waverly chalk paint. So this is the craft paper pad that I was talking about. They have such adorable images. I cannot wait to use the owl for Halloween and the deer for Christmas time. But for this DIY, I focused on the bunny. And I figured that the point of this pack is you're just using it like scrapbooking paper. At first, I thought it was going to be that very thin, almost rice paper feel so that I could just immediately Mod Podge down this image, but it really is thicker, just like a paper. So I went ahead and just cut out my bunny, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to use, but I loved these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. I have been all about the transfers lately, so I'm definitely going to be using those. And to create the roof on my house, since I had to flip it to the backside, the front had the roof. I tried using my heat gun, I tried prying it off, and it was just a disaster. So instead, I painted some wood bamboo skewers and then just went ahead and hot glued those down before moving on to the focal point of this DIY. The white was a little too bright for my taste, especially if it's going to be a bunny home. It's probably going to be getting a bit dirty. So I did go ahead and take some brown paint and also my chip brush to just dry brush the front. I am now arranging everything, trying to figure out how I want it. I didn't glue my bunny down yet, but I am rubbing off the home transfer to the top of our project. And then I went ahead and figured out where I wanted to place my bunny. The paper that the bunny came on did have some little greenery, but that would have taken me so long to cut out. It was so tiny and intricate. And I remembered that I had this greenery rub-on transfer set from the Dollar Tree. So I decided I was going to give those a use. I actually hadn't used them since I think 2021. So it was fun to kind of go in my craft stash and find these rub-on transfers. Also, shout out to you amazing viewers and subscribers. A couple of you commented in my previous DIY videos to use my Cricut scraper for the rub-on transfers. Dollar Tree also has basically the exact same thing as this Cricut scraper that I was just using, and that worked perfectly for my rub-on transfers. It really transferred everything super quickly, and I didn't have to worry about going back in and, scratching more. So thank you to all of you for that amazing tip. I don't know if you have seen on Instagram or maybe even on Pinterest, but Dollar Tree came out with these really large, gorgeous fabric carrots, and I have been looking all over, and I think I've just officially given up because I could never find them at my Dollar Trees, but I was able to find these large plastic carrots at my Dollar Tree, and it's called Farmer's Square. I've only seen it at one of my Dollar Trees, but they have all of the fake fruit. So using the same pattern that I used on my first carrot DIY, except this time in fabric, and this fabric is actually from the Dollar Tree, I went ahead and just hot glued the fabric and rolled it onto my carrots because I figured if I wasn't able to find the fabric carrots from Dollar Tree, then I was just going to make over these plastic ones and make my own. It was pretty easy. I just put the end of the carrot at one of the edges of the fabric and then just started wrapping it. I want this to be very farmhousey and a little bit messy, so I wasn't too careful. Just wrapped the carrot and hot glued it down, and then I did have a little bit excess of the fabric, so I went ahead and just trimmed that down to size. To cinch the fabric up at the top and add a cute little jute bow, I just grabbed my jute from the Dollar Tree and wrapped it around the top. I probably should have left a little bit more fabric at the top because it was slightly tricky. It kept kind of trying to break loose of the jute, but once I was able to get that around, again, I just tied it off with a bow. I will link down below this carrots image that you can't quite see, but don't worry, it'll come into view soon. It just says fresh carrots on it, and I just made it in Canva, so if you guys want to print it out like I did, again, I'll have that link down below for you to use. I thought it was a cute little touch to the carrots, so I just tied it off on the ends of one of my carrots jute bows. Let me know in the comments down below if you have been able to find the fabric carrots at your Dollar Tree, and if not, have you seen any of the fake fruit or this Farmer's Square come to your Dollar Tree? I'm curious if that's going to be a permanent fixture, kind of like Crafter's Square. For the last DIY in today's Easter spring video, it's definitely the easiest one, so if you don't have a ton of time on your hands or consider yourself the craftiest person, then this is going to be the perfect craft for you. For this craft, I am using one of the gorgeous blank signs that I showed in my spring haul video. They are absolutely perfect for crafting. It's so nice because usually my first step in Dollar Tree DIYs is covering up or priming whatever sign I have from the Dollar Tree. But with these ones, you don't have to do that. I also love the holiday cards Dollar Tree comes out with. These are a little bit more of the pricey ones. Instead of 2 for $1, these ones are $1 just for one, but they're always so pretty and I loved this one. I thought it was gorgeous, so all that I did was peel back the egg and place it down on my sign. I'm not sure what this style of bow is called. I call it like a zigzag bow. I don't know, that's just what I've kind of been calling it. It's really easy. You just fold the ribbon back and forth and that creates your bow. And then I just go ahead and grab some jute and tie it down the center. Let me know in the comments down below if you know the name for this bow, and if you guys want a more in-depth tutorial, definitely let me know. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory, you can see from the video, but if not, then I would be happy in my next video to go a bit more slowly and in-depth with all of you. But once I have kind of fluffed out my bow and trimmed the tails before I place it at the top of my DIY, I wanted to add something in the center, especially because I had to use jute, or sometimes I use zip ties for larger bows. I did want something that would cover up that jute because I wasn't really liking that look. Everything else in my sign was very white and bright and clean, so I didn't want that dark brown jute. I ended up using one of the small bunny wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree that I actually used in a DIY last year. Next week, I'm going to be focusing mainly on Easter decor, but for this week, we are all about the spring. To start off, I am kicking off today's video with another spring wreath. I have really enjoyed making wreaths this season, so I wanted to make another one. Today, I'll be using the egg form from the Dollar Tree to create this DIY. Let's get right into it. 2 weeks ago in my DIY video, I made a bunny wreath using Dollar Tree supplies, and I loved so much how that one came out, so I wanted to try my hand at it again, and I'm loving all the wreath forms that the Dollar Tree has out for spring. So for this craft, I'm going to be using the egg one. And very similar to that wreath, I'm going to be covering it in jute. I did use some nautical rope on the last wreath, but for this one, all I am doing is using some jute from the Dollar Tree Crafters Square section, and I wrapped the entire wreath form in it. It did take a while, but I put on a show I liked, and it went by pretty quickly. So once my entire wreath form was covered in jute, it was time to start working on what was going to go on the inside of it. I cut out another egg shape, but smaller, out of some black cardstock, and then I grabbed one of the wood bunny ornaments from the Dollar Tree and covered it in some scrapbooking paper and also adhered a little cotton tail to him. My egg wreath is going to have the black cardstock egg hanging inside of it. So to do this, I just hot glued a little bit of jute to the back of the cardstock egg and also to the back of the wreath form. Before I added my wood bunny, I did make a bow out of this black and white buffalo check ribbon. It's one of my favorite bows to make using a zip tie. I will go ahead and link that above if you want to check out a more detailed tutorial. I did that around Christmas time, so again, I will have that linked above. To bring in some spring greenery, I had these little sprigs, so I went ahead and also hot glued those down. They'll be going on either sides of my bow. These I did get from Amazon. They are not Dollar Tree, I have to admit, but they are some of my favorites, so I'll make sure to link them in my shop. My Amazon storefront is always linked down below in the description box. If you ever want to check it out, I have a bunch of my crafting favorites listed. So now that I know exactly how the black craft paper egg is going to be hanging inside of my wreath, I went ahead and hot glued my bunny down into place. This is really going to be the focal point of this entire home decor piece. I also added the same ribbon that I created the bow out of to the top of the DIY project, just to kind of tie the buffalo check in. So I did add some hot glue to that to make sure it stayed in place. And lastly, I needed to create a hanger so I could actually hang this on my front door. So I just grabbed some nautical rope and hot glue that to the back of this wreath. I am definitely going to have a hard decision to make. I don't know if I want to put this one on my front door for Easter or the bunny. I might just have to rotate them out, give one March and give one April, because I really love them both. I have done a couple of bunny bait and carrot themed DIYs in the past in some of my older spring videos, but I think this one has got to be my favorite. I just love the way the carrots are hanging. It really makes it look like a bunny is going to come at any second and come and snatch these up. And all you need are a couple Dollar Tree supplies. I actually saw this DIY on Pinterest. The original creator is The Loft Home Decor, and this was just so cute. Not only did I love that it used Dollar Tree supplies, I just knew that I had to recreate it because I needed it in my home for this spring. So I took the Dollar Tree cloche and also one of the Dollar Tree candlesticks, and then I took my apple barrel paint in the color Umber. It is my favorite dark brown paint, and I am running so low, I have got to pick up some more at Walmart. And my candlestick from the Dollar Tree I actually used in a Christmas DIY, but I am repurposing it, so I'm covering it in that brown paint. And then I went in with my Waverly white chalk paint and a apple barrel chip brush and just distressed everything to make sure that it had that farmhouse look. We're also going to be adding some wood beads on top of our cloche, so I went ahead and painted those brown as well, and then added a little bit of distressing to those with the white paint. Next, it was time to kind of start putting together our bunny trap. So I did grab some jute and just threaded that through the wood bead and tied a knot at the top. I will be hot gluing that to the top of the cloche. And then once I have the bead in place, that's kind of going to be the top of it, it is time to address the carrots. So I took some of my hot glue and just hot glued them together in a trio. I did this first, and then I grabbed my jute and kind of figured out the length that I wanted to make sure that it was hanging down from the cloche. The Dollar Tree has two different types of cloches. One is a little bit smaller, and this one, on the label, it said high cloche, so go with this one if you are going to be recreating this DIY, because the small one is barely even big enough to fit the carrots in, let alone have them dangle a little bit. So again, I placed the jute down into the carrot trio with a bit of hot glue, and then this tricky part, I put a little bit of hot glue on the end of our jute string, and then kind of let it dangle down into the cloche and tried to fit my hand in there to finagle it. Definitely make sure if you're doing this that you're using a low temp hot glue gun, otherwise that will really burn your fingers. For the bottom section of the cloche, I took some reindeer moss and just hot glued that down into place. For the bunny bait label on the top of our DIY, I grabbed some of these stickers from the Dollar Tree. I'm not going to be using them as a sticker, so I just kind of cut around the plastic area. I really liked the shape and thought it would be a great label for this project, so I just left the plastic on so it didn't have any of that sticky side. Then I just grabbed one of my black ink pens and wrote out bunny bait. I also hole punched a little area on it so that I can then thread the jute through our little label. I also added a small bead to the front of the bunny bait sign before tying it off. To adhere the cloche onto our Dollar Tree candlestick, I used E6000 as well as hot glue. E6000 is just a little bit more permanent than hot glue and will ensure that my bunny bait DIY stays together. The next two DIYs are actually made from some hanging egg ornaments that the Dollar Tree currently has out. So if you see them in your store, not only is it a great deal because you get two signs for one, but you can create so many adorable spring and Easter projects. For this one, we are going to start off by making our chick, and this is the hanging ornament sign. Again, it does come two to a pack. And first I primed it, so I just painted it white with my Waverly white chalk paint. It is always my go-to. And then I went in with the shade Daybreak by Folk Art. So for the nose and the feet on our chick, I am actually taking some of these heart wood scatters from the Dollar Tree. They have it out during the Valentine's Day season. So to make the feet a little bit more 3D, I am placing down two beads first. The smaller beads are going to be the eyes, but these slightly larger ones I'm going to use to, again, elevate the feet. And what is an adorable baby chick if they don't have that really cute I actually don't even know what you call it. I know some of you guys have chickens, maybe you're even farmers. What is this little fur area called on the chick? Let me know down below. Do you call it fur? Do you call it hair? So to create it, I just took an orange piece of ribbon, and like you could just see, I just kind of cut it down and then folded it up to create our chicken hair. That's what I'm gonna call it. You gotta let me know in the comments down below. What is this actually called? Then I used my hot glue to adhere the hearts to the tops of those little wood beads, and now we have our little chick's feet. For the beak of our chick, we're going to do pretty much the same thing, but this time on the orange heart, I went ahead and adhered it so the pointy part of the heart is actually facing out. And then I grabbed these smaller wood beads that I painted black and placed those on for the eyes. I am a big lover of the farmhouse style, so pretty much any chance I get, I am going to choose to distress my DIY projects. To do this, I always go in with my Apple Barrel chip brush and my favorite dark brown, Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel. It always gives a really nice distressed farmhouse look. So now that you have seen the cute side of what you can do with this DIY piece from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to show you a little bit more elegant way that you can style the egg ornaments from Dollar Tree. So the first one, we made the cute little chick that is a great craft that you can do with kids. And now I'm going to show you something that you can style in your home. This looks really great on a book stack as a nice Easter or spring decor piece. We're starting off with that same egg decor ornament, but this time instead of painting it, I'm going to be covering it in some scrapbooking paper. I actually picked this up last year from Hobby Lobby and I thought it was so gorgeous. I used it on an egg ornament last year. I will insert a picture of that. So I wanted to use it again because I haven't used it at all this year. So I just traced out the shape of the egg and then went ahead and adhered that down. I didn't have Mod Podge in my hand reach. Usually I would do that, but I was being a little bit lazy, so I just grabbed my hot glue gun because it was already on. The beads and tassel are actually from a Dollar Tree blank that is currently out. It is a tag sign with, again, the beads and tassel. So I just unhooked it from that sign and then threaded it through the hole that I created in this DIY project. Next up are two really fun DIYs that would be great to do with kids. These definitely brought me back to my elementary school days. I remember doing really similar projects on paper plates when it was Easter and springtime at my school. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below, did you guys do crafts when it was Easter or springtime at your school? I just have such vivid memories of using the kids' Crayola paint on the white paper plates. So I am taking the wood slices from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to be making a chick and another cute spring creature. I also, again, used those wood hearts from Dollar Tree. I painted them yellow to match our chick and then orange for the little chick's feet. And the exact same method that I did on the larger egg ornament is what I did for this little chick's hair. I took one of my orange ribbons and just kind of cut it up, and then to create its adorable little face, all I did was use some paint. You can help out your kids with the hot glue part or even adhere the hearts down with some tape, and they would have a lot of fun painting these Dollar Tree wood slices. If the chicks aren't your style, another way that you can do this DIY is turn it into a bunny. You're going to be using pretty much the same items, taking those wood slices from the Dollar Tree. I found these in the Crafter Square section, and I grabbed some white paint for the bunny and just went all the way around. These are ornaments, so they do have a little hole in them, so I just made sure to flip mine upside down so the bunny's cotton tail will cover up that hole. And again, I am putting the wood hearts from Dollar Tree to use. I had no idea that I'd be using them so much during the springtime and not so much during Valentine's Day. So I painted those white, and those are going to be the bunny's paws. Then I also took one of the cotton tails that the Dollar Tree came out with in a 24 pack, and I went ahead and hot glued that to the bottom of the wood slice. For the bunny's ears, I just freehanded out some shapes, traced them, and then cut them out of this scrapbooking paper. I got this paper from Hobby Lobby, and it was so pretty, I knew that I wanted to use it as the bunny ears on this DIY. The last step was using some hot glue to adhere the hearts to the bottom of our project to be the bunny's feet. Just be careful with this because it is a circular decor piece. You had to really position the hearts in a correct place just to make sure that this could actually stand up on its own. I didn't even realize it until I was putting all of my crafts together, but all of them have to do with bunnies, so these are perfect for not only Easter, but the spring season as well. First up, let's get started with this carrot patch craft. I absolutely love our little bunny who took a dive into the carrot patch and is enjoying some delicious treats. I really love using the wood crates from the Dollar Tree in so many different projects. You can pick this up in the Crafter's Square section with the other wood supplies. For this one, I'm actually going to be using it as a crate as it's intended. A lot of times I'll flip it upside down and use it as a faux book stack, but in this case, I was just painting it, and the color of this paint, it's by Waverly and it's in the color Pool. It's a really nice pastel blue. I've actually had it on my shelf for about 6 months and finally decided to use it for the spring season. I did use my cutting machine to cut out the words Farm Fresh Carrot Patch, but you could always just write that in with a Sharpie or a paint pen, or even use some of the rub-on letter transfers that the Dollar Tree has. Next up, I'm going to start filling my crate, and I just grabbed some of the floral foam that you can also find at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just lining all of this up into our crate so then I can put down some Spanish moss and of course our little bunny butt. This is so cute. I picked this up almost 2 years ago now, and I never figured out what to really do with it for a DIY. I actually had it in my paper towel holder in my kitchen because that was just a cute decor piece, but I really wanted to actually craft with it this year, so I did place it down. I'm going to be having it in the corner of the crate, but I wanted to fill it with some of this greenery and Spanish moss first to kind of set the scene for our carrot patch. I have to be honest with you, I love the way the little greenery pieces and the Spanish moss look, but it's such a nightmare to craft with because when you pull it apart, it goes in the air, you get dust, I start coughing. It's kind of a disaster and so messy to craft with, but it really does create the perfect base for our carrot patch, so I kind of let that slide. I also added a little fence that is part of a Dollar Tree wood truck. I just went ahead and ripped that off and placed it on the back of our crate so it really looked like the bunny was getting into a farmer's fenced off carrot area. Then some of the jute carrots, there's actually just foam that the jute is wrapped around. So I cut about halfway and a little bit more than halfway on some of the carrots so that it really looked like they were growing out of our carrot patch. You could also have just kind of stuck the carrots down in there, but I found it was just easier to cut them and then hot glue. I also added a little wood carrot to the front of our sign. Those came in a large pack from the Dollar Tree. And then lastly, this was supposed to be a farmer's carrot area. So I did take a little bit of my dark brown paint and just dirty everything up. So it really did kind of look more like a farm. Like I mentioned earlier, all of the crafts in today's video are bunny themed, so we are moving into our bunny wood block. I know that the Dollar Tree sells wood pieces now, but I was very lucky. My future father-in-law has a whole scrap wood pile, so he very kindly cut me out this wood block. But you can also use items around your house, an old tissue box, or maybe an old cardboard box that held some granola bars. You can definitely get creative with this one. You really just need something that is going to be able to stand up on its own. So of course, to start off, we are painting our block white so that it will go with our bunny theme. But if you guys know me, I love the farmhouse look, so of course I had to dirty and rough up the block. I really like using the Waverly stain in the color Antique. That is how I usually do my farmhouse look. Then it was time to make the bunny's ears. I used a chalk pen that I have picked up from Dollar Tree to trace out the ear shape. And then once I cut those out, I hadn't realized that I had my burlap bag folded. So I got 2 sets of ears instead of just 1. So I'll definitely be saving these for a future project. I wanted my ears to be polka dots. So I just took the back of one of the paintbrushes that I had, dip that into some white paint, and basically use that as a large dotter tool to dot on my polka dots. Then I'm creating one of my favorite bows to make. It's so easy. You just make a loop and pinch in the center, but I wanted to add a little bit something extra, so I did take some lace ribbon. This was from the Farmhouse collection the Dollar Tree came out with a while ago, but they have this lace ribbon in stock all the time. I always keep picking it up. So I wanted that to go on the inside of the bow. I trimmed it down a little bit so you would be able to see that burlap ribbon as well, and soon I'll be adding that to my bunny. But first, for the nose and the whiskers, I'm using some raffia for the whiskers and a small natural wood bead for the nose. So the only tricky part was making sure I could thread a good amount of the raffia through the bow because some of it wasn't coming through. But other than that, it was pretty simple. And then I just cut it down to size and kind of fluffed out the whiskers to make them not all go in one direction, kind of make them actually look like whiskers. Then I hot glued my burlap ears to the back of the wood block. And of course we had to add on some bunny eyes. So I just took a Sharpie first to kind of draw out where I wanted the eyes. Then I went in with my hot glue, now that I knew where the eyes were going to be placed, and placed down the nose with his little whiskers. I hot glued down the bow into place at a slight angle in the top left-hand side of the bunny block. And I liked the Sharpie eyes, but I did want them to be a bit more pronounced. So I went in with my daughter tool. I always get a lot of questions about this. I have it linked down below in my Amazon shop. They also sell it at Dollar Tree, and I just went in with some black paint to make the eyes a little bit more bold. The next craft is a Dollar Tree twist on a way to store some of your sweet treats for the Easter season. In this case, I am using some delicious, may I add, Skittles jelly beans that I actually picked up at Target. To start off this DIY, I grabbed one of the ceramic bunnies that is in the Dollar Tree, usually in the Easter section up at the front of the store, and I think it's considered a kid's craft because it looks like it had little paints that came with it and like a little kid's paintbrush, but this is actually a great item that you can turn high-end by taking some metallic paint and painting the entire bunny. Now it kind of looks like a bunny that you would actually find in the Target Easter section. I knew I wanted to cover the lid of this soon-to-be candy jar with some fabric, but couldn't decide on what kind. I had some pastel stripe fabric, some plain white, but I did end up going with the black and white gingham. I placed a little bit of Mod Podge onto the top of our lid and then just laid down the fabric and waited a few minutes for that to dry. Then once it did, before I cut away any of the excess fabric, I grabbed some jute and just tied that around and made a little bow at the center of our lid. Because I did the Mod Podge only on the top of the lid and then just tied the jute around it, I won't have to worry about screwing on and unscrewing the lid and having the fabric get stuck. Then I wanted to add a little element that tied in the gold figurine to the jute. So I put two small natural wood beads at the bottom of the strings or tails of our bow. And then I did go in with a small paintbrush and paint those using the same metallic gold so that it would match the bunny figurine on top. The last step in this sweet candy jar DIY was to hot glue the clay bunny figurine to the top of our jar. Now you have an adorable way to display all of those fun colored jelly beans. This bunny bottle DIY is actually a bonus DIY, if you will. I wasn't planning on doing it in this video, but I saw in my to recycle section this bottle and thought that it would make a great DIY. I rarely throw away bottles. They are very great for crafting. I'm not sure how that one got into the recycling bin, and it's actually one of my favorite bottles. It's the Aldi Sparkling Pink Lemonade. I get it for kind of special occasions or if I'm hosting book club or something. So I do have this bottle fairly often. So if you're a lemonade lover like me, pick it up at your Aldi or even Legal has it. So to start off, we don't want a plain glass bottle, so I completely painted it in some white Waverly chalk paint. Then I had the idea to use the bunny bags for the ears. In my head, the bunny bags had pink ears on the center of them, but when I actually pulled them out of the plastic bag, I realized they didn't, so I knew that I would have to do a little bit further DIY on them. I cut them out to be the matching bunny shape that I wanted, and then I went in with some pink paint on my own. This is the section I thought was already on the bunny bags, but obviously I was wrong. The shade is Ballet Slipper by Waverly, so I painted the insides of the bunny ears and let that dry. Then there was a big hunk of label that I could not get off of this bottle, so to not only cover it up but add a little design to this DIY, I took some white bunny paper and just placed that all around the bottle, and I just tied it in the back with some tape. I am going to have this bunny face and little bunny feet available for you all to print down below. I'll put it in a Canva link. I did use my cutting machine and vinyl for this, but you could cut out the picture that, again, I will link below and just glue it onto your bottle. The bunny face would not be complete without a girly bow, and I couldn't decide between this satin white or between the lace, so I combined them and then just did a very simple shoelace bow and tied it in the center with some jute. I really liked that plaid one too. I kept going back and forth, but I liked the neutrals, so I just stayed with that and hot glued the ears and the bow onto the bunny bottle. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below, have you ever done a DIY with a recycled bottle? There are so many different ways that you can use them, so let me know in the comments down below, what ways have you used bottles when you are crafting? This DIY is an easy and quick one from last year that I wanted to include because it did have that great bunny image that I thought fit really well into today's video. All that I did was take one of the farmhouse frames from the Dollar Tree and some of this lavender scrapbooking paper that I had and place it in the back of our frame. For a lot of my DIYs, I will take the glass out of the frame, but for this one, because we're using a window cling, I'm going to leave it on. And once I have put my frame back together, you can flip it over, and again, because you have that glass, it will be so easy to attach the window cling on top. As I came across these gorgeous window clings from the Dollar Tree, I hadn't seen these at all, and then last week when I popped in, just when I thought I couldn't find anything new at the Dollar Tree, I found these. And I loved the bunny with the flower crown. I thought it was so cute, so I immediately had an idea to use a window cling in a little bit of a different way. Also, a good tip, if you have a backsplash in your kitchen, if it's like a subway tile, these window clings do stick. I have used that during the holiday season. I put up some window cling gingerbread men from the Dollar Tree. This is a super quick and easy DIY. It doesn't require a lot of work, but it still brings that pop of spring into your home. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.